today, marking the first anniversary of the overthrow of Bashar al-Assad and his rule. It comes as the fractured nation struggles to find stability and recover after years of war. Assad then fleeing Syria for Russia a year ago as rebels commanded by Syria's new president, Ahmed al-Shara, seized Damascus and ended his rule. Well, the atmosphere in Damascus, as you can see from these images, was jubilant. Thousands of people taking to the streets to celebrate in the capital. That is, as well as a number of military parades underway. President Ahmed al-Shara then urging Syrians a short time ago to work together to rebuild their country, which is still marred by insecurity. Well, look, we can bring you some analysis on today in Syria. We can welcome Heiko Wimmen. He's project director of Iraq, Syria and Lebanon, the International Crisis Group. Heiko, thanks very much for speaking to France 24 this afternoon. It's good to have you with us. We were showing images there of both military parades of Syrians celebrating a year on from the fall of Assad this Monday. It has to be said, though, Heiko, behind those celebrations, real questions remain about the future for Syria. Would you agree?
Obviously, the new leadership for the past year has tried to initiate a transition, tried to rebuild political institutions in a country that has been wrecked by 14 years of a really, really destructive civil war. And they have made some strides, but as you say, it's a major challenge and not all has gone right.
Let's unpack some of the difficulties there and this question of insecurity that Ahmed al-Shara has made reference to himself today. Ethnicity, religion. Some of the things that we've seen this year, violence against the Alawite community, clashes between Syria's new government forces and Syria's Kurdish and Druze minorities, a resurgence we're hearing equally of the Islamic State group, an incredibly complex landscape, religiously speaking, ethnicity speaking. What do you make of that? There's a steep hill ahead to climb for Syria's new president.
Absolutely. And we should keep in mind that he actually does not rule over all of Syria at this point, right? The northeast, the south have degrees of autonomy protected by very real arms, and in the case of the south, even by Israeli intervention. And you have a huge rebel force to sort of convert quite unruly parts of it, to convert into an army, the security forces, to bring actually some stability to the country. And that is a huge challenge. Now, what I think the main issue is here that the guys in charge for years have operated in a place, it's a tiny corner of Syria, Idlib, and with a number of armed factions, where making sure that you had unity of decision, that you had leadership, that you had absolute loyalty was very essential to survival. The revolution or resistance was plagued by infighting for years and years. They ended all of that. They had established strong disciplines and decisive leadership, unquestioned leadership, and they have to some extent tried to apply this pattern that was successful up there to rebuilding the country. And there are limits to that. And we have seen some of the shortcomings with the violence that we mentioned.
There are shortcomings indeed. We've spoken about violence within, specific sectarian groups in the country. Let's think about the average Syrian on the ground. For them, transitional justice is a process which is taking a great deal of time as well. Old grievances resurfacing. That's problematic as well outside of these sectarian groups.
Well, of course. Transitional justice is a big word, a big challenge, and the main challenge about it is that it's supposed to be justice, not retribution, right? A lot of justice is really required to deal with people who committed crimes on behalf and under the old regime, but also groups, individuals, military factions aligned with the current rulers during that war have committed war crimes. This is known. So what is really needed is a process that works through these grievances, works through these crimes, and delivers to everybody in Syria, a sense that eventually they will have justice. Now, obviously, the volume of these crimes and atrocities is so large that it will take years to deliver that. But moving forward is decisive, or else you get people to take justice into their own hands, and that was part of the violence that we saw in earlier this year.
Heiko, I want to come back to something you said at the beginning of our interview. You said that there had been some positive things, some change in the country. Is the fact that Syria's new rulers are fully integrated, if you will, to the kind of the global international community? Now we've seen a lot of diplomacy from Ahmed Bashar, at least international conferences. He's been, quite present. We've seen him meeting Trump and other key European leaders. How important is that, in your view, to putting Syria back on the roadmap and perhaps moving forward with some of these immense challenges, as we've been saying?
I mean, it's absolutely crucial. First of all, you need legitimacy, or they needed legitimacy for their rule, which is not a small feat. If you remember that the moment they took over, they were designated international terrorists, right? And from there to come to a point where Donald Trump receives in the White House, and where these people are treated as the legitimate rulers of Syria that everybody wants to succeed, everyone wants to support, is an enormous achievement. Nobody really believed that this would be possible in this short amount of time. And it's crucial because the country is completely destroyed and has to be rebuilt, and that needs money before anything else. It needs massive investment in infrastructure. It needs aid, but also investment by companies and by investors who, in the end, want to make money. And for that, you need stability. And that brings us back to the problems that you mentioned. They've been had enormous success externally, recognition, support, but this also has to be the same degree of commitment has to be invested in stabilizing the country domestically. You can't achieve that, then the investors won't come. If you have violence breaking out here and there on a pretty recurrent pattern, investors will be scared away. If you can't rebuild the justice system, you mentioned transitional justice, but you need an actual functioning judiciary to educate business conflicts, for instance, right? As long and you need institutions that work. To have institutions that work, you need to give everybody a sense in the country that the state is actually there for everybody. If you can't achieve this, then the investors will not come, the money will not flow, and you cannot improve services and the living situation, which is really desperately needed.
So a real spotlight needed on the country's institutions, I hear you saying, Heiko Wimmen. Thank you very much for sharing your analysis with France 24 this afternoon. Thank you.